In the heart of Spain, nestled amidst rolling hills and vineyards, stood the monastery of Our Lady of Grace. Within its ancient walls lived Brother Ambrosio, a monk whose sermons shook the very foundations of faith. His words carried the weight of conviction, and his face shone with an unearthly radiance. All who heard him speak felt their souls stirred. They called him the Saint of Madrid, and many traveled far and wide just to gaze upon the man whose presence radiated such overwhelming sanctity. Yet what the world didn't know was that Ambrosio harbored a secret shame, a forbidden craving that gnawed at his pure facade. You see, there was a young novice in the monastery named Rosario, a man so delicate and shy that he preferred the company of scriptures to that of fellow monks. Rosario was devoted to Ambrosio, often shadowing him during his sermons and sneaking into his chambers at night to listen to him pray. However, unbeknownst to Rosario, Ambrosio harbored a dangerous infatuation towards him. It wasn't merely platonic affection that burned within the saint's heart, but something darker, more sinister, something that conflicted with his vows of celibacy and the teachings of the church. Then came the fateful night when thunder rattled the monastery, shaking it to its core. Rosario, trembling with fear and excitement, sought refuge in Ambrosio's chamber. With lips that quivered and eyes that flashed with unshed tears, he confessed to Ambrosio, his voice echoing through the room, "I can hide it no longer. I am not who you think I am." As the storm raged outside, Rosario slowly removed his hood, revealing a face that sent shockwaves through Ambrosio's being. Beneath the novice's habit lay not the visage of a man, but a woman of breathtaking beauty. Her name was Matilda, and she had been drawn to Ambrosio like a moth to a flame, obsessed with his captivating voice, his radiant face, and the purity that seemed to emanate from his very being. But as the full weight of her deception crashed down upon Ambrosio, he recoiled in horror. Why did you deceive me?" he exclaimed, his voice echoing the thunderclaps outside. Matilda, however, remained unfazed by his reaction. Her eyes glistened with a strange light as she responded in a voice that was as enchanting as it was dangerous. "Because I love you, Ambrosio. I have watched you from afar, listened to your sermons, and my heart ached with a desire to be near you." Though torn between his religious convictions and the overwhelming allure of the beautiful woman before him, Ambrosio found himself succumbing to Matilda's charms. The boundaries of right and wrong blurred as the Saint of Madrid, guided by lust and desire, abandoned his sacred vows and embraced the sinful pleasures that Matilda offered. The monastery walls bore silent witness to their unholy tryst, the very stones seeming to weep with sorrow and shame. Ambrosio, lost in a labyrinth of sin, became a mere shadow of his former self, his face losing its heavenly glow, and his sermons their powerful sway over the faithful. As days turned into weeks, a dark cloud hung over the monastery, stifling the laughter of the monks and replacing it with whispers of doubt and suspicion. Meanwhile, Matilda reveled in the power she held over the fallen saint. Her presence cast a long shadow over the once peaceful abode, twisting the hearts of men and corrupting the sanctity of the sacred. Then one day, amidst the sea of faces that flocked to hear Ambrosio preach, a new one caught his eye. It was Antonia, a young girl of unparalleled beauty and innocence. Her presence was like a ray of light piercing through the darkness that had enveloped Ambrosio's life. Her kindness knew no bounds, her spirit untainted by the shadows that danced in Ambrosio's soul. But as Ambrosio gazed upon Antonia, a new struggle began within him. On one hand, he was captivated by her purity, which mirrored the holiness he had once known. Yet his heart also ached with a desperate longing to recapture that lost virtue. Torn between the allure of sin and the memory of innocence, Ambrosio found himself at a crossroads, unsure of the path he wished to tread. As if sensing the turmoil within the fallen saint, Antonia extended a helping hand, offering friendship and solace. Her simple acts of kindness chipped away at the wall of darkness that surrounded Ambrosio, reminding him of the light that still flickered within his soul. Despite the danger her presence posed to his carefully constructed facade, Ambrosio couldn't resist Antonia's magnetic charm. He found solace in her company, her radiant spirit momentarily banishing the demons that haunted him. However, as his feelings for Antonia deepened, so did his desperation to possess her, not merely to quench his burning desire, but to recapture a piece of his lost soul. The thought of losing her to the darkness that threatened to engulf him terrified him, driving him to the brink of madness. With each passing moment, the battle within Ambrosio intensified, threatening to tear his shattered existence apart. Yet what Ambrosio didn't realize was that his obsession with Antonia had become a beacon, drawing the attention of the very forces that had corrupted him. In the depths of the catacombs beneath the bustling streets of Madrid, where shadows stretched long and the air hung heavy with the scent of decay, lay a hidden chamber of unspeakable horrors. Here, shrouded in darkness, lurked a figure of immense power, a being of pure evil waiting patiently for its moment to strike. Meanwhile, driven by his insatiable desire for Antonia, Ambrosio sought the help of the only person he thought could grant him what he craved, power. Summoning all his strength, he descended into the labyrinthine catacombs, where the air grew thick with the stench of death and despair. There, amidst the silent tombs and flickering candlelight, he met with the very embodiment of evil, making a pact with the Prince of Darkness himself. In exchange for his unwavering devotion and a price that chilled the very marrow in his bones, Satan promised Ambrosio the power he so desperately sought. With trembling hands, Ambrosio prepared for the ritual, his heart pounding against his ribs like a trapped bird. Satan, pleased with his disciple's fervor, bestowed upon him 2 vials of potent liquid, one filled with a crimson liquid that pulsed with sinister energy, and the other containing a white powder that shimmered like fallen stars. With these gifts in hand, Ambrosio emerged from the catacombs, his face pale and drawn, his eyes gleaming with a newfound determination. He knew the time had come to claim what he desired, and nothing, not even the gates of hell itself, could stand in his way. First, he used the red liquid to end the life of Antonia's mother, plunging the innocent girl into a world of sorrow and vulnerability. Then, with a heavy heart, he turned to Antonia, his mind clouded with a mix of lust and guilt. With trembling hands, he placed the white powder into a drink, watching as it dissolved into the liquid like whispers of forgotten dreams. When the concoction was ready, he approached Antonia, who sat unaware of the danger that lurked within the cup. As she drank, Ambrosio held his breath, hoping the drug would take effect before anyone noticed. But little did he know that his every move was being watched by a pair of hidden eyes that had witnessed his descent into darkness and now observed his every step. As the night wore on, the servant cautiously emerged from his hiding spot, his face etched with concern and determination. He had seen enough of Ambrosio's wicked ways, and it was time to put an end to his reign of terror. With a heart filled with righteous anger, he sounded the alarm, calling upon the people of Madrid to rise up against the fallen saint. The news of Ambrosio's crimes spread like wildfire, tearing apart the fabric of faith and trust that had once held the community together. Soon, a mob of angry townspeople gathered outside the monastery, their voices echoing with chants of justice and retribution. The once revered Ambrosio found himself at the mercy of the very people he had once inspired. Stripped of his holy robes, he was left in shackles, his body bearing the marks of his own corruption. Confronted with the weight of his actions, Ambrosio confessed to every sin he had committed, hoping for forgiveness, yet knowing that none could be given. Condemned to die at dawn, he sat alone in a dungeon cell, broken, bleeding and consumed by remorse. As the first rays of sunlight pierced through the cracks in the wall, casting long shadows across the floor, Ambrosio awaited his fate. Just when all hope seemed lost, a familiar voice echoed through the dungeon, offering a glimmer of salvation, or so it seemed. It was Matilda, the sorceress who had led him down the path of sin and damnation. Now she stood before him, her eyes blazing with an otherworldly light, offering a chance to escape the wrath of the townspeople. With a promise of power beyond his wildest dreams, she tempted Ambrosio, urging him to embrace the darkness that had become his only companion. Though torn between the desire for retribution and the yearning for oblivion, Ambrosio ultimately chose damnation. Summoning the last vestiges of his strength, he made one final pact with Satan, offering his very soul in exchange for deliverance from the clutches of the mortal world. Yet Satan, ever the trickster, had a cruel sense of humor. Just as the mob approached the dungeon, ready to exact their revenge, he intervened, saving Ambrosio from their fury. But instead of granting him eternal rest, Satan dragged him into the fiery depths of hell, laughing at his disciples' agony and despair. Thus ended the tale of the Saint of Madrid, a man who had walked the path of righteousness before succumbing to the darkest temptations of the flesh. His legacy, a cautionary tale of how even the purest of hearts can be corrupted by lust and the insatiable hunger for power.